Electronic music pulsed, leaking through the door and vibrating in Luna's chest. Colorful neon lights painted the facade of the house, creating a monster of shadows and colors that danced for her. The smell was a mixture of sweet perfume, wet grass, and something electric in the air. She held the shiny paper invitation in both hands, a passport to a world she never belonged to. At her side, her older brother, Matteo, looked at her with an apprehension she didn't understand. When the door opened, the music engulfed them both, and the silence that followed her entrance was more deafening than any beat. All eyes turned to her, and then to the group of girls laughing in the corner. The invitation in her hand was fake, and in that instant, Luna's heart broke. Which city are you watching us from? Have you ever felt the pain of being excluded, of being turned into a joke? Today's story is about cruel humiliation and revenge that didn't come with screams or tears, but with thread, a needle, and a beauty that silenced everyone. Stay with us to find out how a dress changed the game completely. Subscribe because you won't want to miss this. My name is Matteo. I'm 19, and my sister Luna is 16. To me, she's not the autistic girl. She's Luna, the girl who can see constellations in a puddle after the rain, who can smell a storm hours before it hits, who has such a rich and vast inner world that sometimes I think it's us, the normal ones, who live in a small, gray universe. But the world doesn't see the Luna I see. The world sees the girl who doesn't look you in the eye, who waves her hands when she's happy or nervous, who wears headphones to protect herself from sounds that hurt her. And the world, especially the cruel world of high school, loves an easy target. My outburst is that of a guardian. Since we were children, I have been her translator, her shield. I have learned to identify the onset of a crisis just by the way she clenches her fingers. I have learned to create escape routes in crowded places. I have learned to smell the malice in the air before it reaches my sister. And tonight, the air was rotten. I feel a rage burning inside me, a rage against every pitying glance, every snicker, every whispered comment. They have no idea of the effort she makes every day just to exist in a world that wasn't designed for her. They see weakness. I see a strength that none of them will ever have. Protecting Luna is not a burden. It is my life's mission. And sometimes to protect those you love, you can't just be a shield. You have to be a sword. Tonight they poked the wrong dragon. They didn't just humiliate my sister. They declared war on me. It all started with a piece of paper, a lilac invitation, with glitter and elegant handwriting. It was for Isabella's birthday party, the most popular girl in school, the party of the year. The invitation wasn't delivered at school. It was placed anonymously in our mailbox, a cowardly, calculated act. I knew, at the moment I saw it, it was fake. Isabella and her entourage of clones spent their lives ignoring or mocking Luna. Why would they invite her to the most exclusive social event on the school calendar? But Luna saw the invitation and her eyes sparkled in a way I hadn't seen in years. For her, it wasn't just a party. It was an invitation to join in, a chance to be, for the first time, a teenager like the others. She spent the whole week in a bubble of happiness. She talked about what to wear, whether she should bring a gift. She picked out an old dress, one that belonged to our mother, and stood looking at herself in the mirror, daydreaming. Every smile she gave me was a stab in my heart, because I knew it was a trap. I tried to warn her subtly. Are you sure, Luna? Parties are so loud. But her hope was a wall that my words couldn't penetrate. She wanted to believe so badly. She needed it so badly. And how could I be the one to destroy the first real hope she'd felt in so long? So I made a pact with myself. I would take her, and if my suspicions were right, I would be there to protect her. I would be her shield. I just didn't know that, on that night, I would have to become much more than that. We arrived at the appointed time. Isabella's house was a fortress of light and sound. Luna was trembling, a mixture of fear and excitement. She held my arm tightly, the fake invitation in her other hand like a good luck charm. The door opened. The music hit us like a wave. For a second, everything seemed normal. Teenagers dancing, talking, drinking soda. Then Isabella saw us. She was in the center of a circle of friends. The smile on her face was pure venom. She raised her glass and said loudly, "Look who's here, the guest of honor." The laughter began. First a low giggle, then a cruel laugh that spread like a disease. People turned around. They pointed. They whispered. Luna froze. She looked at the invitation in her hand, then at the faces laughing at her. Understanding hit her, and the light in her eyes went out. It was like watching a star die. The pain on her face was physical, an open wound for all to see. That's when my rage exploded. Not a hot, screaming rage, but a cold, cutting rage. I let go of Luna's arm and walked toward Isabella. The sea of teenagers parted for me. I stopped in front of her, looking her in the eyes. "You feel big now," I said, my voice low but loaded with contempt. "You needed all this, all these people, to try to break the strongest person I know? You're not even close to her." Isabella tried to laugh, but the sound died in her throat. The party fell silent. "Enjoy your 5 minutes of popularity," I continued, "because my sister's class, beauty and strength, are things your money and your clique can never buy." I took Luna's hand, which was frozen, and guided her out of that snake pit. As we walked to the car, I didn't feel sad. I felt a steely determination. They wanted to humiliate her. They wanted to make her a joke. Fine. I would give them a show they would never forget. Revenge would not be an angry post on social media. It would not be a complaint to the principal. It would be a work of art. I study fashion design. It is my passion, my future. That night, while Luna slept, exhausted from crying, I went to my workshop in the back of the house, and I started drawing. The turnaround would be a dress. I spent the next week in a state of creative fury. Every stitch I made on the sewing machine was a blow against their cruelty. Every piece of fabric I cut was a word of hatred I was destroying. I wasn't just sewing. I was weaving armor. I chose the materials with the care of an alchemist. A heavy silk satin, the color of the deepest night, almost black but which revealed a bluish sheen under the light like a galaxy. The lining was organic cotton, the softest fabric I could find, so as not to irritate Luna's sensitive skin. No labels, no zippers that could pinch. The weight of the dress was calculated to have a calming effect like a hug. And then, the final detail. I spent 2 whole nights with tweezers and special glue, applying hundreds of tiny Swarovski crystals to the bodice and skirt. They didn't form an obvious pattern. Up close, they looked random, but from a distance, they formed the exact constellations of the sky on the night Luna was born. It was her own private universe, made visible to the world. I called it the star dress. It wasn't a piece of clothing. It was a statement. It was Luna's beauty transformed into fabric. It was my love for her sewn into every fiber. It was our answer. Silent, elegant, and devastatingly powerful. When the dress was finished, I hung it on Luna's bedroom door. She woke up and saw it. The first victory was her silence. A silence not of sadness but of reverence. She approached, touched the soft fabric, ran her fingers over the crystals, tracing the constellations she knew by heart. "Is it for me?" she whispered. "It was made for you, Luna," I replied. The second victory was when she put it on. It fit like a glove. She looked at herself in the mirror, and for the first time since the party, I saw her smile. She turned slowly, and the skirt moved like an expanding universe. She wasn't feeling pretty for others. She was feeling like herself, wrapped in safety and beauty. The dress didn't disguise her. It revealed her. The third and greatest victory was our decision about what to do next. We weren't going to any parties. We didn't need their approval. We would create our own event. I called a friend who does photography. We went to an abandoned park at dusk, and we did a photo shoot. Luna, in her star dress, against the rustic and decaying backdrop. Her beauty against the ugliness of the world. The photos were magical. Luna wasn't posing. She was being herself, looking at the sky, touching the leaves, existing at her own pace, and the camera captured it all. The quiet strength, the unusual grace. There was no anger in the photos, there was power. The power of someone who knows their own worth regardless of what the world says. The photos were not posted with hateful captions or indirect references, just the image and the name. Luna, the starlight dress. But in a small town, the message was clear. The photos spread like wildfire, first among the students, then among the parents, and soon throughout the entire community. Isabella saw the photos. At first, she felt a bitter triumph. Pathetic, she thought, trying to get attention. But the more she looked, the more something bothered her. There was no desperation in the images. There was an ethereal beauty, a self-confidence that she, with all her designer clothes and forced popularity, did not possess. The reaction at school was not what she expected. People weren't laughing at Luna. They were in awe. Did you see Luna's photos? What an amazing dress. She looks like a princess from outer space. The cruelty of the party, now seen in the light of those images, seemed even uglier and smaller. Isabella's spell began to break. Her friends began to distance themselves, not wanting to be associated with her now exposed malice. One night, alone in her room, Isabella found herself looking at the photos again. And for the first time, she didn't see the weirdo. She saw a girl, and she felt something she didn't expect, a twinge of envy. Not for the dress, but for the authenticity of the visible connection between a brother and a sister. Her popularity was a house of cards built on fear and exclusion. Luna's strength was real, woven with love and stars. Matteo's revenge was complete, not because it hurt Isabella, but because it forced her to look in the mirror and not like what she saw. The story could have ended there, but the universe has its own plans. A small independent fashion magazine in the capital saw the photos online. They didn't know the story of the party, of the humiliation. They saw only the beauty, the design, and the soul in those images. They contacted us. They wanted to do a story, not about bullying, but about the collaboration between a young designer and his muse, about fashion with a purpose. The article was published. The photo of Luna looking up at the sky in her star dress was on the cover. Fame wasn't the goal. The real validation didn't come from the magazine, but from within. It came from seeing Luna cut out the article and paste it on her bedroom wall. It came from seeing her start to draw her own patterns inspired by the dress. She found a new way to express herself. The humiliation of the party still hurts. Scars remain, but we are no longer defined by it. We took the mud they threw at us and turned it into stars. We didn't need them to invite us to their party. We created our own dance, our own sky, our own universe. And in that universe, we are both kings. Luna is not the girl who was deceived. She is the girl of the stars. And now, no one can dim her shine. When the world tries to extinguish your light, don't try to scream in the dark. Light up your own constellation. Beauty can be the most elegant and powerful form of revenge. If Luna and Matteo's story brightened your day, like this video and comment on your favorite part. Your voice is important to us. Subscribe to the channel and share. Someone out there may need help sewing their own star dress today.